Excuse me. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna grab an applesauce. So, 1 second. Ugh. Oh, and I oop, and I oop again. Oop once, oop twice. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm struggling. There we go. Okay. So, today a deck arrived that I was really hoping would arrive Wednesday, and I had to work today. And it literally arrived right before I went to work. But my SKT3 came in. While I drink this applesauce from the cup. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So this is a Vitruvian edition that ooh, the force that I've been working with. I was just looking at it and I'm like, wow, when you hold it up to the light, you can still see the shine, but it's not as gold as it used to be, and some of the edges are a little rough. But this is the Vitruvian edition that I've worked with before. It's one of my favorite decks. I mean, I feel like all of my decks are one of my favorite decks. Eve, hello, how are you? I feel like all of my decks are a favorite for one reason or another, but this is one of my like for anything, I don't want to say of significance. But like if I need to reach up or to reach deeply for something, this is a deck that I'll use. So like when I run people through the curriculum, I'll use this deck to do it. This is a deck for me that it gets me a little closer to the soul. So, and I've only seen a few cards of the Revelations edition or Revelation edition because I literally just got it before I had to go to work. I tried to like get a card before I left, but I didn't even have time. But one of the cards, hey Holly, one of the cards that came out, okay, one of the cards that came out was the Three of Wands, and I read it in this book, and I loved it. The tone is like it's not completely different, but it's a different tone. Even between, I didn't get the first edition, but between the first edition and the Vitruvian edition, there was a change in tone, and I love it. So the Revelation edition features the characters, or features characters more prominently than the Vitruvian edition. Also, the Revelation edition is in full color. The Vitruvian edition is in sepia, and the first edition is black and white. So this is the deck I was talking about when I was like, I found out that it was coming out, and I didn't even know that there were pre-orders. Oh, I would have been so upset if I missed out, but I didn't. So I'm glad. I'm grateful for that. And then when I got the email, they were like, "Oh, it's probably going to be like late November into December." Yeah, the Spirit Keepers Tarot. So the SKT, this is SKT2, and then here's SKT3 with more color than the SKT2. Well, the box has some color, but excuse me. Um, but they were like, we still got decks left. Like, you can still pre-order it. I was like, okay, thank you. So I got it. It came today. I feel like I need to wipe my face. I have like applesauce on my chin or something. So for comparison, I'm gonna read the Three of Wands, the politic from this book first. I guess I should find it. Let's see what's the energy around the three, and we'll flip through some of these. Like y'all have seen these before. Maybe not all of them, but I wonder if there's like a card in this deck that I like never get or never see. The Malays. So it's the Malays in the Vitruvian edition, but in the Revelation edition, it's the Pugilist. And the energy of the Pugilist is completely different than the energy of the Malays. And I love it. And I love it. Here it is. So it's coming up with the Emperor, the Three of Wands, and the Six of Pentacles. The Giver, and oh look, there's the Warrior at the bottom of the deck. Can you see it? Hold up, wait. I feel like, do I have it? 1 second. This doesn't work. I can't tell if, no. I'll just do that for now. So here's the politic in this deck. It's very similar to the other one, but I'll read it in the book. I don't really use the little white book too much, so it could literally be the same. And I just didn't know it. So, the politic is an omen validating glory achieved through diplomacy, tact, pragmatism, and prudence. The Three of Scepters pretends expedient success. This is the spirit of ingenuity in wielding your personal brilliance, social intelligence, and psychic dexterity to successfully navigate complicated social or political situations. This is the spirit of established strength by your side. Here, we also see powerful allies supporting you in your endeavor. And yeah, it's pretty similar to the other book. I guess I don't, like I said, I don't really use the little white book. But I just saw the Demiurge in the other deck and the Grotesque. Oh, it's literally right there. So we have the Initiate, the Politic, and the Gardener here. Excuse me. Oh, I've been sleeping in for the past few days and I love it. The burdened one at the bottom of the deck. Oh my gosh. I feel like this one is even more esoteric than the burdened one in the Vitruvian edition. Because I'm like, it's not that complicated on the other one. On the other one, I'm like, you got a whole yak. Oh, look, the Giver came out. I was gonna say it's interesting that we go from the Six of Orbs to the Seven of Orbs in the Revelation edition, but it came out so we can compare these two. So you can kind of sort of see the different vibes, right? Moon and Taurus. Also, I noticed that in the Revelation edition, the cards are pretty similar in size. They may be the same. Um, she put the tetragram on the bottom, if you can see that. And she also put, I don't know if you can see it. I think that's the Mayan tone. So that's a tone 6. And somebody was just, I think I was on Rob's, and somebody said something about the tones. And I looked at my phone. I guess I was here. I think Rob was here, or I thought about Rob. I don't know. Because I looked on my phone to see if I still have it, and I don't. But I'm pretty sure I've sent it, so I can go find it again and save it. You took a long nap today? Oof. I wish I could have. I didn't get out of bed until like almost 11 though. And then I did my homework. One of the classes is going to be done. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to not have to do homework anymore. The thing I like about work is like I go to work, I work at work, I come home and I don't have any more work so I can do whatever I want to do with my day. When I'm in school, it's like, oh, I got to make sure I do my homework. I'm like, ugh. So I think I'm good on classes. I don't even know if I want to go back to school now. But I guess if I was on top of my homework or if I treated school like work, school could have also been similar. And I think there were people who sort of like did that. Like they would have an 8-hour school day and then like be done. And it's something I always wanted to try, but never did. So I am going to try to find this really quick because I guess I'm gonna need it now. Okay, it's not here, but I know I've sent it to some folks. I think I sent it to Russ. Maybe I might have sent it to Russell. Pretty sure. Yep, here it is. Just gonna save this one to my pictures again. And I'm gonna save this one. Okay. So, yay, I found it. So, tone 6 on the 6 of orbs. Tone 6 is rhythmic, organic balance, bring heaven to earth and roots. Excuse me. I'm so tired. I think these are like literally the same though. Oof. I don't know. It just hit different today. Like I said, I usually use the what is it? The Book of Maps. In the Book of Maps entries, I love that like the Book of Maps entries are like even different than these. The Book of Maps goes a little bit further in. The book or the little white book is meant to be whatever. See, I do it's worded slightly different. Because this three of scepters, the politic, says your diplomacy, tact, pragmatism, and prudence are why you are about to achieve great glory. This is the spirit of ingenuity in wielding your personal brilliance, social intelligence, and psychic dexterity to successfully navigate complicated social or political situations. This is the spirit of established strength by your side, coming to you as three Babylonian magi or high priests from the Chaldean Empire. Upon their staves, the names Metatron and Uriel, talismanic sigils from the Holy Tablets of the Fathers, 1614, and petitioning sigil for drawing down the powers of the sun. Here we see powerful allies supporting you in your endeavor. This isn't about working harder, this is about working smarter. Expedient success is coming your way, but be prepared to act when the opportunity arrives. There's advancement in the sciences, arts, and culture. I read that one. I was like, what? I was like, wait. Okay, I love this deck. I was like, I love it. Excuse me. I feel like I was going to say something. Oh, 1 second. I need to look something up really quick. I don't know if it means anything. I had an interesting dream 2 nights ago. Not really anything of note, but last night I had another interesting dream. And something is happening and taking place. And from my perspective, like when I read, it's coming in through the space of Virgo. like when I was live the last time, and whatever energy, like it was a tongue of light, a fount of truth, at the same time, like tapping into the seed of all creation and things that must remain in the dark. Like it had an energy that was very Virgo in the Starman. But the energy of Virgo and the Starman was the one where I had the mic muted, so you couldn't even hear what I said. So, but I guess the energy did come back around. Um, and I was gonna, excuse me, I was gonna pull on it to see, but that didn't happen. Um, but Wednesday, oof, I had a dream Tuesday night into Wednesday morning that already put me on edge for Wednesday. 2 days. And like I'm the type of it's the hypocrite in me. The hypocrite in me is like, you know what? I'm a pass on astrology right now. I'm not gonna follow the transits. But when something happens, I'm like, let me look at the transits. And I haven't walked off of a job since I was like what 15, like my first job. And what I realized for me is that when I go into certain situations with the understanding, and it's a big bit, with an understanding and an expectation of what's going to happen, and then that expectation isn't met, or someone else says something. Um, 1 second. I was going to do this earlier, but I forgot. But when it doesn't go according to plan, then that's when I get like effed all the way up. And I'm like, this is not what we agreed was going to happen. The only reason why I agreed to this, the only reason why I'm here is because I came in with this understanding. And that's not what's happening right now. I'm not doing this. And I was like, boom. And then my mom came and she was like, I was like, come get me. I can't be here anymore. My temper was like out of control. I was just like, I have to remove myself from the situation completely. Um, and so then she came and she was like, well, did you at least talk to HR? And I was like, no, I didn't even think about talking to HR. I was just trying to go, da 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 da, blah 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 blah, whatever. Um, and she was like, I was like, well, maybe I should at least go back and do that. So then I went back, and that's when the other person was there. We worked it out. And what's interesting, oh, excuse me. What's interesting is it actually took that situation. It actually took, and this wasn't like this was primal Mars, just straight up mad. This wasn't like sacred rage or anything like that. But it's like because I got mad to that degree with that individual and then had somebody else mediate, that I was actually able to connect to them on a deeper level. And it almost reminds me of like how I made friends in like elementary school. Like some of the dudes that I became friends with, like we would fight and then we would be friends. So it was almost like that. I was like, I must be on my comma because I don't know what's happening. You had a dream today of a hand beckoning you into the darkness. Oof. So maybe it is Virgo, yeah. I had a dream about a Virgo last night, and they told me a story of two individuals who had a child or something like that. They were telling me about something, and then they told me how to recognize it. I was like, "What?" And I don't even remember the second part. I only remember the first part because it's a two-part recognition. I don't remember part two. I remember part one. Anyway, yeah. And today I was like that. I thought about it again today, and I was like, well, that person is a Virgo. So I'm like, well, was that person in the dream to symbolize like that Virgonian energy that seems to be holding whatever is going on right now or whatever's about to go on? Um, I don't know. So what was the hand about? That's a offline conversation, Eve. I'm being intentionally vague. Um, ooh, ooh. The other ones just don't shine like these. They've gotten a little dull with use, but they're not any worse for the wearer. Oh, there's two. The Golden Shield. What was I talking about? Excuse me. The Shining Gale and the Shining Quarry. It's interesting because I feel like I've had the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles together before. Winds of the Self, Caverns of the Gnome. I've done my best to not got a belly flop feeling, then woke up. Well, yesterday I went semi lucid in a dream, and I differentiate full lucid from semi lucid. I don't know. It's different. Like, I feel like for me, when I go like fully lucid in a dream, it's like I realize that I'm dreaming. And then when I go like semi lucid, it feels like me realizing that I'm dreaming is a part of the dream. Like when I'm fully lucid, it's like it's more of a like, oh my gosh. And when I'm semi lucid, it's like the realization just happens like naturally. And so I went looking for somebody yesterday, not yesterday, the day before. I don't know why, but I was just like, oh, let me go see if I can find this person. And the way I navigate dreams now is with open doors. So I open the door and I look outside, and it looks like it's evening time, but I could tell that I was actually like in the shadow of something. So I step outside the door, and the like I'm not at like the yard is different. And I turned around, and like there's this huge red palace behind my house. And I woke up, I'm like, I don't know. That's what I just Googled. I just Googled like Red Palace of the East to see if anything would pop up. Because I meant to do it earlier, but I forgot. And because like that was the west side of my house, so it would have been like east if I came out from the west and I looked back and it was so in the shadow of the Eastern Palace. I don't know, the Red Palace of the East. And I woke up. I was just like I didn't go in the palace. I just like stepped outside of my house. I noticed that like it looked like it was evening time, but it was just the shadow, and it was some big red palace. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Your dreams are more lucid when napping than when you sleep at night. That makes sense because I feel like sometimes, like in that in between dream state, or like when I'm like falling into a lighter sleep, not necessarily a deeper sleep, I think sometimes it's a little bit more easy to go lucid into. So I want to see what's on this side. Okay. What's on this side? Okay. Ooh. The sharpshooter. at the bottom between. I don't know what it means. I was just like, okay, that's strange. I don't know what I'm doing. This is heaven and earth. I don't even know what this says. I can't read. Well, I know some kanji. I think this is ue, above. Is that 100? That's now? I think this is I. I don't know what this is. What is this? I feel like I also didn't ask a question. I could try to see what's going on with Virgo. I'll just do that. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I need a something. Archangel of Mysteries. I wonder what the Archangel of Mysteries looks like in this deck. But yeah, I went semi-lucid and I was like, oh, I can go looking for this person. Open up the door, Shadow of a Red Palace. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, I mean, Google is my best lead right now. I don't know if red palaces mean anything to me. There was a dream. There was a city in a dream. It was very like Forbidden City vibes. I've never been to the Forbidden City. I've never seen the Forbidden City, but it felt very Forbidden City. And I used to have dreams in that city often. And there was a lot of red there. But I've never dreamed from outside of that place before. But now I almost wonder if there was a dream that I had inside the place that puts me outside the place now. Not that I remember any of those dreams. There was like a chicken place. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. As soon as I said Virgo, your screen buffered for a second. See, last time I said Virgo and you got kicked out. So maybe I should stop saying Virgo. The Archangel of Healing. Ooh, okay. I like that little seal. Angel who salves and purifies. Hmm. What I immediately notice is that like most of these casks are closed, but there's a horn here that's pouring out water. Is this a fish out of water? I don't know what this is. That's a knocked over cup. It feels like maybe this cup was supposed to be there to catch the water that came out of this horn. But it missed it. It's almost the Five of Cups feeling. Like the healing could be there, but we're missing out on it in some way. Oof. Excuse me. It keeps spitting out cards at me. So it wants to talk. I'm just like, I don't understand what you're saying. What what did Marlon say? He's trying to tell me something. I know it. Excuse me. So we have the Vagabond, Five of Orbs. And the Champion, Six of Scepters. which is interesting because it feels like this Six of Scepters champion is like inside of this place. So like this is inside, this is outside. It's like if you go in, you would see the princess on the throne. Mercury in Taurus and Jupiter in Leo square. This is also what heaven over not Lake Thunder, maybe. I gotta grab the book. Let's see. Yep, heaven over thunder, or thunder over earth. Sorry, thunder over earth. And thunder over earth is enthusiasm. I Ching number 16. What's interesting about this vagabond card is this shadow that's sort of like lying on the ground here. It's like lying on the ground looking up, like their eyes are connecting. Oops, you can't see it. Their eyes are connecting, but it doesn't feel like the shadow is actually there. I'm actually going to read this one. I'm going to read both of these, the Vagabond and the Champion. I feel like between the two of these, it's an energy of like, it almost reminds me of the Archangel of Healing, about how the cup was supposed to be under the stream of water to receive that healing. Like, this is an energy that goes at it alone. It's like it never reaches out for help. There's some level like of like pride or something that it gets from being like self-made. And it feels like it takes the more difficult route by doing that. It's like their ego prevents them from reaching out. So the vagabond, at the heart is this: learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is to not stop questioning. The vagabond is the wanderer's spirit of alienation and feeling alienated. Yet this is also the spirit of faith. Your soul is weary and restless. You feel beaten and weathered. You are in search of higher meaning. And now you are at the threshold of finding what you've been seeking. But first, you must confront your shadow. This is the spirit who will teach you toughness and resilience, but does so by putting you through the gauntlet of material troubles. Abraham Stone, the material troubles. Hold on, wait, no. Abraham Stone, the Zohar, descends from the heavens to illuminate the synagogue or shul. The final message of the vagabond is one of hope. The spirit of hope gets you through your moments of hardship. Remember Exodus 5. You will always persevere because your legacy has been divinely ordained. Embrace the light of your faith. Going into the Six of Scepters, positive omen success comes, but at the cost of a personal sacrifice. The champion is the spirit of victory. The imagery of the spirit here conveys the core of the message. To be the champion, one must be oblivious to pain. For there to be victory, there must be self sacrifice. A Norse Gale, I don't know, queen adorned and crowned with amber sits upon her throne, which features Odin's wolves, Gary and Freaky. Cast in bronze, or is it Jerry? Jerry and Freaky? Cast in bronze. The background features the letters of the god's name Tyr, Norse god of war. Didn't Rob just talk about Tyr, Norse god of war? I was like, as a god of war, I feel like Tyr is one of the cooler ones. If this stone is descending from the heavens, illuminating the synagogue, I feel like it's also illuminating, like it's casting the shadow. So this feels like a moment where we can almost separate ourselves from our shadow so that we can like sort of see and perceive both. But it's like if we can recognize our shadow for what it is, it feels like we can choose to like actually enter the synagogue and claim either claim our throne or meet the person on the throne. And I feel like that's the energy of this personal sacrifice. It's to overcome that which used to hold us back. I also like that we have the two five-pointed stars at the base of these two pillars, and then the six-pointed star um, on the church, on the synagogue. So that's also like a 5 to 6 energy, and it's like upwards, right, up to the six. Now here, Tyr is also about sacrifice, and I think that's the thing about war that humanity may be less aware of, because it feels like sometimes even the victors in war lose something, and sometimes that thing is their humanity in some small part at least. Now the other cards that came out, the Chancellor, the Herald of the Flame, the Dark Horse, and the Corruptor. So here, in addition to Jupiter in Leo, we get Mars in Leo, and then Venus in Scorpio. So the only piece of the square that we don't have is Aquarius. Down here, this is water. I think this is fire, or the opposite. The seven of scepters. This is obviously fire. This is obviously water. Okay. The Chancellor is the angel of justice. The Herald of Flame says, "Awaken the brilliance." I think the heralds, the strongholds are heralds in this deck, and there's a sealed letter here. Pages, I think they're pages. Um, this actually reminds me of, I think it's the Nine of Swords in the the Nine of Air in the Osho Zen Tarot, and it's like someone's who's stuck in a foggy labyrinth, but the exit is right in front of them. Two things that I immediately notice about the Chancellor is that she's seated in this deck. I think she's standing in the other one. Because, like, there's the throne, and based on her posture, you can tell she's seated. The second thing I notice is that there's a whirlpool back here, but over here, the waters are calm. So that is a bit of a Six of Swords energy. But it feels like it comes through and like you can do it the easy way or you can do it the hard way. And it feels like to continue to stay in the vagabond energy is to do it the hard way. But with the Herald of Flame coming with the message of awaken your brilliance, I don't know if the stone of Abraham illuminating the synagogue is what illuminates our shadow, or if it's us in some way. But that takes me back to the energy of, I don't remember where it came through. I think it's when I went through the zodiac the last time. But it was, no, I think it was even before that. There was an energy of, it was with the kin, kin and something else, where it's like some, like a divine light illuminates the divine spark within, or something like that. It's like something shining on the outside turns on the thing that shines on the inside, and this awaken the brilliance connected to this. It feels like it's actually this person's light that casts out their own shadow. And I think here is when, what's my minor justice? I think my minor justice is the Two of Swords, but I'm actually going to look for it in this deck. I'm going to look before and after the Two of Swords, because it feels like when the shadow is illuminated, there's going to be a temptation to cut it out. But I would almost be tempted to say that we should resolve it instead and integrate it back, but to do it in like, it's like it's the right proportion. So like it's not to be um, made larger than what it actually is. Here's the Archangel of Healing in this deck. Oh, here's the Chancellor. So yeah, in this deck, it looks like she's standing. Well, she might be sitting still. Yeah, she is sitting. Because, well, I don't know, actually. I do notice, though, that the Chancellor is a lot less cloudy in Revelation rather than the Vitruvian. It's more obvious that she's sitting in the Revelation edition. And if you look behind her in the Vitruvian edition, it's like the sea is calm on both sides. Anyway, subtle differences. Okay. Oof. Yeah. Bread of life, the blind seer, and the corrupter. The corruptor is already here. So that's interesting. That's also why I said oof. Ooh. Oh, well, that's the title card. So. Hey, Steph. How you doing? And it feels like this illumination isn't necessarily happening. It feels like it's happening just so that we see ourselves more fully. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily happening for us to like completely get rid of something. But again, it's like it feels like if you can put it in proper aspect to everything else, then it's not going to take up any more space than it's supposed to. It's not going to be as much of a problem as it was in the past, and it's not going to cause as much heartache or distress or whatever. Okay. Gotcha, Holly. You're okay. Sometimes, excuse me, being okay is pretty cool. Sometimes being okay is like really good, depending. So the blind seer, it's coming out with the bread of life and the corrupter. I also noticed because I saw the bread of life before, and in the Vitruvian edition, it's the darkening, and the Revelation edition, it's the deepening. Um, so if it's deepening and darkening, then we're going inside. Well, because I don't know if you can go like outside more. I mean, oof, oh, okay. It feels like because if we're exploring the shadow, then it feels like it would be outside. Weirdly enough, it feels like to explore the self is to go inside, but to explore the shadow aspect of the self is to go outside. Because when we explore the self, we do like we're exploring the self more completely. When we explore the shadow, we're exploring only like a part. Just like when we explore the light, we only explore a part. This is some kind of mind bendy stuff. Oof, oof, oof. Because it's one of those like you go so far inside, you end up outside, or you go so far outside, you end up inside. Because at the center of this orb is light, but it's light, but it's like it's dark around this illuminated space. That's making my stomach. That's making me nauseous. We're gonna shelf this for now. Put that on the shelf, and we're gonna keep going. But this energy sits behind these two. It feels like with the corruptor. First of all, the key difference I love between the corruptor in the Vitruvian edition and the Revelation edition is this is the axe of Shiva, and the axe of Shiva removes corruption. So this card almost automatically has an energy with it that, yeah, this card has an energy with it that it feels like you'll be able to. What is that? Oh, no problem, Steph. Glad you could be with family. Excuse me, if you're enjoying it. There's something, this is like a resolved shadow energy. This is a resolved shadow. Because like we have the acts of corruption and even in the mirror. Ew, what is that? Oof. Well, the acts of corruption look like it got, I don't know if that's some green glue, ectoplasmic blood or whatever. Oof. But it's like we have the acts of corruption and the reflection of the acts of corruption. So it feels like for example, with this being pride, the lion is pride. I think the peacock is vanity. The goat might be avarice. The snail is sloth. The pig is gluttony. The snake is envy. And so the frog would be. No, the frog can't be. Can the frog be wrath? I'm pretty sure the frog isn't wrath. Maybe the frog is avarice and the goat is wrath. Or the snake is wrath and the frog is envy. I don't know. Anyway, it's like too much of something can be toxic, like pride. But enough pride can be like a healthy sense of self worth. self-love, self-value. Too much is vanity one of the seven deadly sins? I don't know. There's something about it. It's been redeemed here in this corruption. So we get more positive qualities out of it, but it's like it doesn't take the darkness out of it though. You know what I mean? I don't even know. I don't know if I'm explaining that right and how I could even explain it better. It's like it's like snake venom, right? Or it's a venom. But it's one of those venoms that's actually medicinal if you take it in the right quantity. So the fact that you took less of it doesn't change what it is. It's still the exact same substance. Like the dark part is still the dark, but it can be used in a way that is medicinal. And so it doesn't necessarily make the dark light, but it allows us to interact with the dark in a way that we deem as light. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm not confused. I just don't really know how to communicate it, but I feel like I did it. I feel like that was it. It's like the things that can be medicinal. It's what the minimum effective. Is it maximum effective and minimum toxic? I took two pharmacy classes, and there's like this is the threshold where it starts to work as a medicine. This is the threshold where it's like toxic and it becomes poisonous. So the sweet spot is in between those two. It's like it's enough to be medicinal, but it's not so much that it actually harms you instead of helping you. It's like that kind of energy. Frog is the prince. Excuse me. It's making sense to you. Okay, Melissa. Hey, Melissa. Like a dark microdosing, maximum effectiveness, right at the minimum toxicity. Okay. I was like, oof. I know it's. I'm like, I know one is maximum, one is minimum. I don't know if it's. Is it microdosing? First of all, I'm only like 72% sure I know what microdosing is. It's like taking a very small dosage of something that if you take too much of might really be not great for you to experience some kind of benefit. I don't think it's necessarily microdosing the dark because like the energy of this is one that's like microdosing, but it's actually a resolution of the dark, if that makes any sense. It's almost like so going back to the poison medicine thing, it's like so it's like if you have a snake, let's say it's a snake venom. There's a snake that like its body doesn't produce the venom in a concentration to be toxic. Like maybe other snakes can, and so those you would microdose that venom to be medicinal, but it's like this snake doesn't produce enough for it to ever really be toxic. So you don't like have to be as intentional with the microdosing. If that, I feel like it's hard to communicate, but it's just like it won't. It's like it's gone through. It's I don't know. It's just medicinal now. Even though you could probably still like, if you really wanted to, you can concentrate the venom in the snake. Anyway, yeah, you get it. Okay, and it feels like the resolution of these two puts us on this Six of Wands throne. And maybe that's all of like that's the energy of the sacrifice that is required, or that like the tear energy where he sacrificed his arm to the wolf, right? And then we move over to the dark horse, the Seven of Scepters, Mars and Leo. I'm pretty sure Mars is exalted in Leo. So you got Jupiter and Mars in Leo. Oh, but no, that's Aries. Or that's yeah, that's Aries. So Mars would be at fall in Libra. Or at detriment. I don't know. Mars would be at astrology in Libra. And it's exalted in Leo. I think it would be because if it's at home in Aries, then it's at fall in Libra. And if it's exalted in Leo, then it's at detriment in Aquarius. But I don't know. I could have those backwards. So I could have a very backwards. Excuse me. Yeah, there you go, Holly. A grown snake will release in measured amounts where a juvenile snake has less control over the volume. There you go. I don't even know what any of those are. Colchicine, Theo, Thylene. What? The more the better until you take too much. Oof. I know, like for Tylenol, I think like 8 Tylenol is like dangerous, but then people take like 4 to 6 of them. Anyway, so we have the dark horse here. And what I love about the dark horse being this dark horse energy is that there is like this light energy sort of behind it, just for that. But oh, they're 2 7, 7 7, 7 of Wands, 7 of Cups, 5 6 7 7, 7 of Scepters, or 6 of Scepters, 7 of Scepters. It feels like this is a distraction. Maybe not. I've heard about belladonna as a poison that like rogues use or something. Thieves. What is this? This would be a T square between Leo. I'm not like I know the basic aspects. I know what a T square looks like. I know what a grand cardinal cross or a grand cross looks like. It would be a grand fixed cross in this case. But as far as what the aspect like means in astrology, I'm less knowledgeable. Um, I guess this could be an energy following the same because ultimately this leads us to this energy and it puts us on the throne up here. So then this, okay. Excuse me. But I feel like it didn't fully. This feels like this is the light reaching out to the dark within us. It feels like there are things within us that our shadow holds. I feel like in general, the shadow is kind of sort of responsible for holding everything that we don't want to. So, like the painful, maybe more traumatic, not so great memories and stuff like that, and experiences, like we put that on the shadow and then we try to like move forward with our lives and just like forget about it or ignore it or pretend like it didn't happen as best we can. But there's a piece of ourselves that never gets a break from that. And it feels like that piece is the shadow. So then this, it's almost like the light of awareness coming to these different sort of like areas and sectors of our lives that we were never able to find release from. And it's like now the light within self is empowered enough to go back to go into those spaces and to free our shadow from them. It's an energy where it's like where we no longer have to sort of like fight those like inward battles. It's like it can put an end to it. And it feels like when we put an end to all of those things, it actually frees up the shadow enough for for the shadow to collaborate with the light within us. And so now instead of it's almost the Queen of Swords energy in reverse. It's like instead of like being super hyper vigilant or hyper defensive or bitter or cold or whatever when it comes to certain things, it's like it turns it into an actual strength. Oh, my brain is not gonna let me explain that any better. But it's like, let's go back to pride. Like, let's say that growing up, you didn't have a lot, and people always made fun of you because your clothes were tattered. See, I don't necessarily try to trigger people, but I feel like it's something that either you can personally relate to or you can like imagine. And so it's like because you grew up and you were constantly sort of like talked about, when you get older and when it's like you work really, really hard to put yourself in a position where you can afford nice clothes. And it's like the root of like you getting those is the trauma, the pain that you experienced in the past. But let's say that you resolve that pain. It's like just because you resolve that pain doesn't mean that all of a sudden, like you start wearing like clothes that are tattered or whatever. It's like you can still keep wearing those nicer clothes, but now you're not wearing nice clothes as a result of like, or to get back at, or to build yourself up in a way that others tore you down. It's like you're just wearing nice clothes because you like nice clothes and because you want to be presentable or you want to put effort into your appearance. It's like if like you go to the gym to work out because like you want to feel better or you want to look a certain way for you rather than like you going to the gym to impress this person or to impress that person or because you think that if you're more fit and physically attractive then it'll improve your quality of life in some way. And maybe it does because people are like we're so are visually enticed for those of us who are blessed with a sense of sight. um but it's like if that's the reason why you do it then it might feel empty because it doesn't actually resolve the thing in the past. It doesn't actually remove any of that. It doesn't remove any of what you've experienced. And so then it feels like that's when a dysmorphia will come about because even though your body is better, inside you still like with all that was unresolved, all that the shadow continues to fight. It's like that's why like you're still there. So you would see yourself one way, like you were before, maybe overweight or underweight. But in reality, people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so fit." But you can't see it because this is where that part of you still is. And so when you can bring that part of you out of this energy, then it feels like that's what sort of removes the corruption from those parts of you. And again, it's like it frees up the shadow to it feels like in some ways like you're still gonna go to the gym. You're still gonna like buy nice clothes. Maybe you don't go into debt to do it. Maybe you don't need the most expensive, but like decent, right? And that's why it's like this is why it's different than microdosing the dark. This is why the energy was different. It's just like not toxic anymore. I don't know. That's the best I can explain it. It's like that. Excuse me. If I can scroll, there we go. I'm so far behind. What? I didn't know belladonna was the source of old school drugs. I'm like, y'all saying stuff. I'm just like, okay. As long as y'all get it, y'all get it. I'm just like, wait. But that's what this is. And this actually has a Queen of Wands energy to it. So I saw the what's her name? The Scarlet Shield. I actually saw her. There she's opal. The Golden Shield. That's interesting. So it's King of Wands, Queen of Wands, Nine of Pentacles. Ah, I love that Nine of Pentacles. Ah! Oops, energy. That Nine of Pentacles is exactly it. That's what this feels like. And it feels like the Queen of Wands because a lot of times you'll see the Queen of Wands depicted with a black cat next to her. And when I was first learning the cards, and on since I've started, I've heard that like the black cat that sits with the Queen of Wands symbolizes her owning her sort of like shadow side or owning her dark side in a way where she can be everything that the Queen of Wands is because she's so like self-assured, because she sort of like resolves those things, and because that dichotomy and that duality and polarity is it's not um I want to say like extremized. Not extremized. It's accepted. So like she doesn't have to be at war with herself. She can accept that, she's who she is in the light and in the dark. And it's like when she accepts those things, then she can make the conscious choice to be better or to do better. Which is why I love that it came out with the Nine of Wands and the King of Wands, Archangel of Glory. I just saw the Archangel of Glory. The Archangel of Glory came out with my little friend. Thanks, Holly. With this King of Wands energy, it feels like we also navigate the world differently. Like we move differently in the world. Because the Queen of Wands is more so like how the world sees us and how the world interacts with us. And the King of Wands is like how we interact with the world, especially when it comes to meeting our desires. And another thing that I love about this, especially after this foray into what might motivate some of the things we do, like this is an energy where it's like it's not compensating. It's not trying to compensate for something. It's not trying to mask something. It's not seeking something external to mend or heal what is internal. And I feel like with this Archangel of Healing at the bottom of the deck, it's the energy. It's almost like as long as the shadow remains unresolved, there's always going to be this healing that we miss out on. And it's almost like we can't get healing in the areas that we need it the most. I don't know if healing in that way can be forced. I think that's also why we end with the scorpionic energy being fixed water. I also think, again, this is why this came out with Leo energy and Mars. Because Leo being the stereotypical center of attention, Leo being the sun, Leo being how we show up in the world. And it's almost like Leo is like how the world interacts with us in the way that we set the rules for that engagement. Right. So that's like if you tell somebody to like call me your majesty. And so then they call you your majesty, but they call you your majesty because you told them to. Like that's this Leo energy here, especially Mars and Leo. And it's like that's why as long as we leave those things unresolved, then we almost continue to get the same experience no matter the healing that takes place. Because it feels like it doesn't penetrate this deep. It's always in the light, but it never necessarily reaches the shadow. And that's why I pulled around the Two of Swords in the beginning. Because it feels like when we're first confronted with this, it's like what we do is we make that polarity even more extreme, or we distance ourselves even more from the shadow, or we try to just like forget. And it's almost like even if you could forget, since it wasn't resolved, that pain would still linger. So then it's like phantom pains or something like that. And you may be like, well, why do I still feel this? Why do I still whatever, it's like because it never got healed really. It got like bypassed. And so it's almost like we move it to the end of the rotation. Like if healing is a rotation, like if there are things that we face in our lives, it's like a conveyor belt, right? And as it comes in front of you, you heal it, you take it off the line. But it's like one of those rotating conveyor belts. If you don't take it off the line, it's just going to come back around. But it's like every time it comes around, we sort of just like let it go and it passes. But I feel like that's interesting because I feel like somewhere in this energy, it has the potential to disrupt what we think the shadow is. Because it's almost like this is what the shadow has become while it was separate from everything else. But it's like when the shadow was sort of like integrated with everything else, and when we more presently face those things, when we don't relegate and delegate everything to those dark recesses of our minds that we don't want to deal with those like corners and closets and under rugs and stuff like that, then it's almost like it can actually show up in a way truer to what it is. It's almost like it can't do its job because we're making it do something else. But when we take care of that thing, then it's like it can do what it naturally does. And it feels like what it naturally does is like putting a lid on top of these things. It feels like it keeps us together. I don't know. I love saying that, don't I? I don't know. Oof, 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 oof. Excuse me. There was a lighthouse on the. I was going to mention that because I thought that was really cool, but I didn't. I forgot. The little lighthouse at the bottom of the card. I feel like this mirror is positioned on this beam of light to show us where the tool that removes corruption is. And it's almost like without this, because all of this is like nebulous. Like it's all in this cosmic, misty, purple, whatever. So it feels like it's out of our reach without this tool. Okay. I don't know. I just love saying that. I don't know. I don't know. This eclipse tunnel is like a blast. Excuse me. Helping to steal our resistances and temper our resilience. Oh, I feel like this eclipse is just making me sleepy, but it always does that. I was thinking when I was earlier today, when I was in the water room, about how I feel like, well, not that it's not talked about, but I was thinking about Pluto and Capricorn and how Pluto rules which riches, how Pluto rules riches, the precious gemstones, ores, minerals under the ground. And it's in Capricorn, which is like cardinal earth. which is our foundations. Well, it's supposed to be our foundation. Maybe that's a unique gift of Pluto. Maybe Pluto and Capricorn actually takes us beneath the foundation. Because your foundation could be solid, but if you build something over a sinkhole, then it almost doesn't matter how solid your foundation is. Or if you build something on top of, like, I don't know, it feels like Pluto and Capricorn actually takes us even deeper in a way that I don't even know if Pluto and Scorpio does. Or maybe Pluto and Scorpio is too deep, but Pluto and Capricorn is deeper than whatever. So we actually get to make even sturdier foundations. But even my brain. Anyway, I was thinking about how Pluto is associated with wealth and riches, and it's in Capricorn right now. And Uranus is in Taurus, which could be sudden, maybe not necessarily sudden, but like changes to like our fixed sort of maybe even day-to-day lives. And so it feels like with proper navigation of those two energies, it could be a period of time where we could find ourselves in like sudden increases of like financial, earthly, material gain. But it doesn't feel like either Pluto or Uranus just like give stuff up for free. And so there's something that we do. There's some kind of way that we change the foundation, or it's like change the rules. There's something that we do that brings it in. Oh, the Emperor. See, the Chancellor had a book on her lap that she wasn't reading. He got a book on his lap. I don't know. I love saying that. Temper resistance and still resilience. Oh, or temper resistance and still resilience. Thank you, Melissa. Oh, the Hierophant. I kind of like the Hierophant in this deck more than I like it in the other deck. The Hierophant, the Joyous One, and the Memory Keeper. Why does it feel like the Joyous One and the Memory Keeper could be? Well, maybe not. Well, maybe similar-ish. That Phoenix look mad. Look at that baby Phoenix. Baby Dragon is like kind of sort of indifferent. Baby Phoenix is like, why are you not paying attention to me? Hello. Yeah, I like this Hierophant more than the other one. I feel like the other Hierophant. Actually, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. What'd you say? Okay, I was. Oh, it's too cold. I haven't walked in a minute. I'm glad that if you listen, you get something out of it. Glad you get something for your time. So, the Hierophant is about confronting what you have inherited and evaluating that inheritance with individual responsibility. Ooh, I like this. This is the spirit of sovereignty over your sole purpose. Divinity speaks directly to you and works through you, though the truth may be difficult to hear. The Hierophant is embodied by Maitreya, the Bodhisattva and prophesied future Buddha of loving kindness and light, greeting you at the gates of Tushta, a celestial paradise. Alongside Maitreya, when the Hierophant appears, Ganesha's blessings are coming your way. Ganesha is the remover of obstacles, a deva of intellectualism, the arts, and science. Because in the other deck, the Hierophant was a call to go beyond and to seek the voice of the divine for yourself. It was about how the visage of a man or a person sort of like is given the responsibility to hear the words of the divine, and how we form a reliance upon someone else to sort of do that for us when we have the opportunity to seek out the divine for ourselves. And I'm gonna find it. I feel like some stuff has happened. Some stuff has happened between the Vitruvian and Revelation editions, and I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I am not sponsored by McDonald's. There it is. Oops. Are there no keys here? I don't see any keys. Usually the Hierophant is associated with keys. The keys of the kingdom, the key of silver and the key of gold, the key that corresponds to the sun, the one of the moon. What I do like is instead of like this papal sort of hand sign in the back, we have just like this Merkabic sacred geometric shape shining. But there's also something sort of like shining outward. I guess this one had the flowers on it too, but they were harder to distinguish. But the papal bull is here in both of them. I'm going to read it from the other book to compare. I actually want to read this one from the Book of Maps, so I'm going to pull it up. I think I have it downloaded on my computer. I tried not to look at it because I didn't want to spoil the cards. Oh, it's the Holy See in this deck. It's the Hierophant in this one. I didn't even catch that. I didn't even catch that one. When the Holy See appears to you, you are confronting what you have inherited and are now tasked to evaluate that inheritance with individual responsibility. This is the spirit of sovereignty over your sole purpose. When the Holy See appears to you, it's time to evaluate your material culture and social norms. Discern for yourself whose interpretation of the arcanes is the correspondence that rings true with your divine higher genius. When Key 5 appears to you, take care that you are not following a false prophet. Restrain your indulgences. See, and this one was, I'll read it again. It was similar up top, but just like that, the politic was, but it goes like it ends in a slightly different place. The Hierophant is about confronting what you have inherited and evaluating that inheritance with individual responsibility. This is the spirit of sovereignty over your sole purpose. Divinity speaks directly to you and works through you, though the truth may be difficult to hear. I feel like that truth being difficult to hear part, I feel like it's not necessarily harsh truths. Like, it's something that is true that like we don't want to acknowledge as true because of what is that a little South Node Sagittarius, or is that just the Hierophant? But it's like it's almost like if some things are true, then we have to evaluate or reevaluate how we look at the world as a whole. Or we might have to reevaluate how we look at certain people. We might have to reevaluate how we were raised. We have to reevaluate all of that sort of cultural programmed socioeconomic whatever conditioning. And it's almost like sometimes it's easier to keep believing things as true, even though we know they aren't necessarily, because it keeps our reality more or less functional as it was. And I don't feel like it's necessarily that difficult to hear. It feels like it's difficult to hear. It's just like it reminds me of an ancient word that brings ancient things to life, whispered or something like that. It reminds me of that, like the tongue of truth, the fount of light, but also at the same time, the things that must remain in the dark. And I was like, well, when can a truth be spoken and it not be recognized as truth? And the easiest thing to go to is like when we don't sort of like understand it or we don't even know. Like if you tell me something about cars, I'm just gonna be like, okay, yeah, I believe you because I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily it though. Like if there's a language barrier, like if I tell you a truth in a language that you don't understand, then you don't know what I'm saying at all. But it's like it's a difficult to hear truth. And again, it doesn't feel like it's difficult to hear in a way that it's something that we don't want to accept. It feels like it's difficult to actually hear, to like physically or etherically or spiritually hear. Like it's we can't even like we can barely receive the message. And in this case, it's almost like it's on the boundaries, on the outskirts or outside of our vibrational bandwidth. It's above our comprehension or understanding. It's like if you have to tune into it, you can't necessarily hit the station just right where you can hear every word that comes across. It's like at best it's going to be staticky and muffled and in and out. But it comes with the 10 of cups and the 6 of cups. Mars and Pisces, Sun and Scorpio. So we have two sort of like external driving shiny planets, the Sun and Mars, and then we got one in Scorpio and the other one in Pisces. That's the second decan. So this is the Piscean decan of Scorpio, and this is the Scorpionic decan of Pisces. Pisces and Scorpio would meet over Capricorn. Capricorn is the trine that sits, or Capricorn is the sextile that sits in between the Pisces Scorpio trine. But with this Hierophant energy, the Hierophant would sextile Mars and Pisces, but it would oppose the Sun in Scorpio. So with this sextile, it feels like it's easier for us to reach up to, but it's more difficult for us. I don't know if I like this deck. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, I feel like this deck is me and I'm a mom. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't understand why we have to go about things this way. I don't understand why we have to go about things that way. Like, can't we just take a different approach? And there are different approaches, different paths for different people. Because it feels like it's so hard with this being a 6 of Cups energy and the 6 of Cups relating, being more related to the past. It feels like it's very difficult to hold this energy with the past being what it was. but it feels like it's a lot easier to like Piscean project out into the future and to come into it. Like it's hard to accept. It feels like it would be hard to accept that this energy has always been here. That we could have always made this choice. We could have always had this experience. And it's a lot easier to see it as something that, like, because of the healing, because of the different waves of ascension, because of everything that's transpired, now we're in a position where it's like we are approaching that thing. Like we are moving towards where that potentiality becomes a possibility, becomes reality. But in some way, it's almost like, well, that could have always been your reality. Not necessarily. I think primarily it's like it's easier to get to in the future. It's harder to approach from the past. It's just that. And so then I could see why, well, we could eliminate this opposition and just go full sextile, where we leave the past to the past and we bring this energy into the future, or we find this energy in the future. But Ganesha is here. And with the two Ganeshas, I feel like it's Ganesha's ability to help us overcome obstacles, but it's also Ganesha's ability to insert obstacles that are like nearly impossible to overcome. So it's both of those sides. And because it's both of those, it locks us in a certain area until we're ready to move forward. And so then I guess that would be why it's easier to find it in the future, because it feels like there's a lot of things. And maybe after the shadow is resolved, it might be a little easier to see. I don't know. I don't know. But it's like maybe it's not us. Maybe it is that it just like in the past, it was not yet the time. And so there were things that would prevent it from happening. And it's like, well, you can't do anything until some aspect of the divine decides to remove that limiter. And it's like now the limiter is being removed. And it's like now we can work on, with this being Mars and Pisces, now we can do things within our power to do things to make the miraculous reality. Whereas before it was like not left up to the whim, but it's like the chance of the divine sort of like allowing it or not allowing it, depending on, like, oh, it's not the right time yet or whatever. Okay, so that's different than, I mean, it's all in there. Is that, who is that? That's not Kuan Yin. Is that Kuan Yin? I said I was gonna look in the book of maps, didn't I? Let me check. What y'all say? Yeah. I had to remember what I'm doing. I hope it's on here. This is so dumb. I've done it before. Darn it. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I accidentally did it like one time. And I don't remember how. And I don't remember how. Opened. Duh. No. Is this? I don't think it's this one though. Actually, it's on my iPad. Where my iPad at? It's right here. Pretty sure it's on my iPad. Oof. I'm gonna need that pencil when I do homework. That's fine. I'm pretty sure it's on here. Hey, there it is. Oh, wait. Okay. Key 5, the Hierophant. Maybe. No. Where is it? Oh, okay. Wait. How I go from key 1 to key 7? Oh, because this is something different. Key 5, the Hierophant. So she put so many things in these. I'm like, okay. Standing in the foreground is the white bull, one facet of the Hierophant. It's this card. I don't know if you can see it or how well you can see it. Behold the powers of the divine manifested as exoteric orthodox doctrine. An inverted ankh adorns the bull's head, representing the absence of the blessing from the divine mother. Across many cultures, the constellation Taurus is connected to mythologies of a sacred bull. In Sumerian lore, the sacred bull is connected to Marduk, the patron god of Babylon and god of vegetation, judgment, and magic. When Gilgamesh and Enkidu killed the bull of heaven, the act was seen as defiance and a challenge against the gods. In Egypt, the sacred bull was associated with the god Apis, son of Hathor. The Bronze Age Minoan civilization venerated the sacred bull, an incarnation of the great goddess. In Neolithic Cyprus, stone altars were engraved with the reliefs of bull horns and bull masks made from actual bovine skulls, were used in religious rites. Among the 12 Olympians, the sacred bull was associated with the goddess Hera. Per Hindu lore, the sacred bull is connected to Shiva. I didn't know that. Cave paintings of bulls dating back to the Iron Age in the Middle East were believed to be religious art, holding a source of power and magic to its ancient worshippers. Thus, encoded into the divine name is the sacred bull. Okay. The Bodhisattva is Maitreya. I don't, probably not pronouncing that right. Or Maitreya? Malefo in Mandarin. Moroku? What? Moroku in Japanese? Maidari in Mongolian represents the promise of a brighter future. Oh, it represents the promise of a brighter future. That's why it's easier with the future rather than the past. At the moment, Gautama, Buddha's teaching, prevail within the established institution of the Buddhist faith. It is believed that it too shall pass, and when the Gautama Buddha's influence comes to its end, Maitreya's influence shall rise. The institution of Buddhism will be reformed under the new Buddha. According to Buddhist lore, the Shakyamuni Buddha prophesied that at humanity's darkest hour, when poison, wrath, and ill will has run rampant, Maitreya will descend to the earth, be reborn, become enlightened, and lead the people to the revelation. The name Maitreya is a derivation of Maitri or Metta, meaning loving kindness and benevolence. The opposite or the foe of Metta is hatred and malevolence. Maitreya is thus the bodhisattva of loving kindness and benevolence, and of light and truth. The darkest hour of humanity, when Maitreya returns, will be when humanity becomes consumed by hatred and malevolence for one another, when people become most fractured. Maitreya's return is described in a manner reminiscent of the Indo-Iranian god of light, Mithra. Mithra was associated with slaying the cosmic bull, whose blood then gave new life to the world. Not unlike the second coming of Jesus, she goes like all into, as you can tell. Not unlike the second coming of Jesus, there will be a second coming of the Buddha on the earthly plane. Maitreya, the Bodhisattva, will return to earth and be reborn as a human being, and as a human being, fulfill the destiny of achieving nirvana and become the next Buddha to succeed after Gautama Buddha. In a sense, it's the messianic prophecy of a great spiritual leader to come. one we perceive as a human being, who we witness as attaining enlightenment, and who then imparts upon the world new progressed teachings. However, unlike Christian views of a messianic return, Maitreya doesn't return to save us. Maitreya returns to show us the way so we can save ourselves and each other. The darkest hour will be one when we all forget our own potential for light and truth, for loving kindness, and that is why Maitreya returns, to restore our acknowledgement and self awareness of light, truth, and loving kindness. Until then, at present, Maitreya resides in Tushta heaven. They are in the form of consciousness and not resident in the physical body form. We can access Tushita and commune with Maitreya through meditation or astral journeying. Here I'm making reference to Maitreya as they, because at present, as a bodhisattva and Tushita, they take no physical form, and how Maitreya will be reborn as human, achieve enlightenment, and then transmit the next wave of Buddhist teachings is still to be determined. In terms of gender, we do not presently know in what physical form the reborn Maitreya will take. When icons of Maitreya appear to you, meditate or astral travel to Tushita and receive the Hierophant's teachings direct from the Master of Arcanes. In Buddhism, Maitreya is also known as the Master of Tushita. Tushita heaven can also be interpreted as an exalted state of consciousness. Maitreya's right hand forms the Abhaya Mudra, a gesture that communicates, I will protect you, I will keep you safe, I welcome you into the sanctuary. It is also the hand mudra of the religious teacher, and a sign that what is to follow will be the transmission of divine teachings. The Bodhisattva's left hand forms the Dhyana mudra, a gesture of meditation in the path of spiritual cultivation leading to enlightenment. In Mahayana Buddhism, both hands form the Dhyana mudra, or the Dhyana mudra during sitting meditation. Traditionally, women will place the left hand in the mudra over the right hand, while men will place the right hand in the mudra over the left. As a facet of the Hierophant, the Bodhisattva is holding a Dharma chakra, or the wheel of Dharma, inscribed with a pentagram. In Buddhism, the wheel of Dharma is a symbolic representation of Buddhist teachings. The four directions represent the Four Noble Truths, and the eight spokes of the wheel signify the Eightfold Path. The pentagram featured at the center of the wheel represents the domination of the mind over the four elements. It is the soul perceiving itself, self awareness. It is also the occult and esoteric aspect of the sacred teachings. Maitreya's depiction here shows strong influences from Hinduism, and one, or in particular, Shivaism, a Hindu tradition that honors Shiva as a supreme being. Shiva being the primordial soul and self of the universe, omniscient and the destroyer of evil. And it was Shiva's axe. Shiva's axe is in the Tower card, and it's actually in the Corruptor in this deck. The axe that removes corruption. In the other deck, like I showed you, it's not there. But we got the axe and the lighthouse in this deck. So not only did we get the axe, we also know like where to use it. Anyway, back to this. The pearl featured on Maitreya, where the third eye would be, is a reference to Shiva's third eye. At the top of each pillar, the mystic rose, and below it, the stone relief of an elephant with the solar cross upon its head. This calls upon a reference to Hindu cosmology of the world elephants, and also of the elephant's elemental correspondence to Earth. Here, the elephants also call in the presence of Ganesha. Coiled around the pillar to the Bodhisattva's right, a vine of roses, around the pillar to the left, a vine of lilies. The second septenary counterpart to the Hierophant is Key 12, the outlaw, the tarot hanged man, which also bears a messianic expression. Oh, Messiah? Like Messiah, messianic, yeah. Then in the third septenary, the counterpart is the Tarot Sun card titled The Warrior. This is also a play on the Paleolithic and Neolithic religious concept of the sun as a creator god and the Christianized messianic concept of the Son of God. The Hierophant is a spirit who is known by the epithets Master of the Arcanes and Channel of Grace. These are the gates of established thought, sovereignty, concomitant with the Emperor's temporal power, The Hierophant acts and speaks for thousands, who hears the divine voice speak and transmits the sacred word to the lay. Depicting the tarot Hierophant as the Bodhisattva Maitreya is a reminder that the Hierophant is not one you go to for salvation and wisdom, but rather is a divine aspect within you that you must access for that salvation and wisdom. And then we have the card meeting. And then the card meeting is here. Oof, what'd you say? Yeah, the axe with the goo on it. The ectoplasma. I know what it was. So the card meaning. Encoded into key 5 is the office of the gatekeeper, one who is tasked to determine access, to determine what or who may enter. This is the threshold guardian and the interrogator. In many versions of the Tarot, Key 5 is the first card in sequential order of the major arcana that features more than one human figure. From the continental European decks, such as the Saprofino Tarot or the Tarot of Turcate, or Turcati, to the esoteric decks, such as the Oswald Worth, the Rider-Waite-Smith, Bota, or the Bota Tarot, and the Thoth. Keys 1 through 4 feature single individuals, and it is at key 5 that we are first introduced to a multiple human figure cast. That many figures depicted on key 5 is to convey the separate roles that are the compositional sum of the Hierophant archetype. Here, it is the white bull in the foreground who is the gatekeeper. There is an obstacle you must first remove before you can continue toward access. This is the interrogator. And so the first exercise for you when the Hierophant appears is to interrogate yourself. A strong message for discernment comes through. What is it that you seek to learn? What is it that you seek to achieve? Why are you here seeking passage through these gates? After interrogating yourself, you will have dismantled dogma. Key 5 presents themes of self-questioning. The spirit of the Hierophant brings the promise of transmitting divine secrets and your potential for receiving them. There's a sacred teaching component to the Hierophant, which is also present in Key 2, the Priestess, and Key 9, the Erudite. Key 2, the Priestess, is intuitive knowledge, knowledge that you are encoded with by virtue of being attuned to divinity. Meanwhile, Key 5, the Hierophant, is knowledge obtained by dialectical discernment. I see Key 5, the Hierophant, being that it's in the first septenary and in the path of integrating the self as you teaching yourself. You are your own teacher by way of interrogation, and you must look within. In Key 9, the Erudite, the second septenary of integrating the cosmos, this is about emanating that teaching outward. Once you have discerned what is of the light and truth for yourself, show the way for others to follow. In the SKT revelation, when the Hierophant appears to you, it's a sign that you need to teach yourself, whereas in contrast, the Erudite is about seeking external sources for learning. The Hierophant is discourse for establishing purpose and truth, which then sets you on the right path. The Erudite is the construction of experiences. Key 5 is traditionally interpreted as I don't know if I've ever read the entire entry for any of these. I feel like this entry is longer than it was in the Vitruvian edition, but that's fine. Key 5 is traditionally interpreted as personifying tradition. This is the establishment and cultural values that form your identity. When the Hierophant appears to you, you are confronting that which you have inherited. You are now tasked to evaluate that inheritance with individual responsibility. Excuse me. Those among us who follow alternative spiritual paths diverging from established religion tend to have a challenging relationship with the Tarot Hierophant card. The Hierophant represents an orthodoxy that has always been the root source of inner conflict in our lives. I also speculate that the Hierophant is perceived as an unappealing key because it represents the difficult questions we must confront ourselves with and the difficult work we must toil through to arrive at an illuminated destination. In the Eleusinian mysteries, Hierophants guided the initiates of the ritual. It is the title of one authorized to bring the lay into the presence of the sacred. The Hierophant is one who shows you what is holy and what is not. The number five is a pivotal point, and here the Hierophant stands at this crucial juncture as both a gatekeeper and a bridge builder. For occult tarot decks, the Golden Dawn renamed Key 5 from the Pope to the Hierophant in reference to the Eleusinian mysteries. The word itself means expounder of sacred mysteries, derived etymologically from the 1600s Latin word hierophantes or hierophantes, which came from the ancient Greek hierophantes, or one who teaches the rites of sacrifice and worship. The root hieros means sacred, and phainen means to reveal or to shine a light on. The Christianized French and Italian tarots identify Key 5 as the Pope, who represents the authority figure on earth for dictating virtue, values, and spiritual teachings. While the key title in the occult tarot was predetermined, the illustrator of the Waite deck, Pamela Coleman Smith, converted to Catholicism around the time she was a work for hire on Waite's tarot. I can only speculate that removal of the Pope from tarot deck art would not have sat well with her, and so in her illustration, the allusions to the Catholic papacy remain strong. The Bodhisattva Maitreya, the future Buddha to come at the twilight hour of the apocalypse, conveys hierophantic qualities. One second. Oh, so the earlier draft of this card, I'll show you. So this was the earlier draft of the Hierophant card. And in this one, the keys are still there. But in the final draft, the keys aren't there. Like, there's the final draft. Here's the final draft. Here's the first draft. That's the artist note. Om Mohi Mohi Maha Mohi Svaha. Om Muni Muni Smara Svaha. Mantra attuning to Maitreya. Are these still? Yeah, I think this is all the artist notes. Oh my gosh. It keeps going, girl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like 10 and a half page long entry. Like the book of maps is over, I think it's almost 750 pages. So there's some good stuff in there. The book of maps has stuff that I don't even like use. So yeah. Yeah. So what she did was, because she pulls a lot from a lot of different when she makes her decks. She pulled from like the Rider Waite Smith interpretation. She pulled from the what Aleister Crowley Toth interpretation. Um, like her own sort of like culture, like other cultures and religions, like, and that's why I think in the Book of Maps she also sort of talks about everything. So, oh, okay. So I think after all after all of that, this is an interesting energy. Um, I am so cold right now. It is so cold back here. Because she said in this deck, the Hierophant, or just in general, going off of the thing about the Hierophant is the space where we confront ourselves for the information or the truth or the light or whatever, rather than someone else. And so with this Six of Cups, like this is an inner, it's a truth that resides within the self. So then the Sun in Scorpio, I don't know if the Sun is just about illuminating those things, because I feel like the Sun also has a sort of gravity towards it. The Sun is like, it's interesting that it's like both light and dark can have, well, I don't think dark has an orbit though. Light has an orbit. Suns, stars that are big enough, they like gravitationally they pull other objects in, and they serve as the primary source of light for those I almost said constellations, for their systems. Like our solar system, the sun is the center of our solar system, but it's like black holes too. I don't know if they necessarily establish like orbits around them. Well, they say the center of the Milky Way galaxy is a black hole, right? The galactic center. So it's like the galactic center is a black hole, but the center of the solar system is a star. It's light. I feel like there's something there. I don't know what it is. Can y'all hear that helicopter? Um, I don't know what that means. It's almost like there's a binary star system, but one of the stars is a black hole. And it's like, well, wouldn't the black hole just like pull in the star? But the thing about black holes is that I think they're like super dense. And so to have a star that is of comparable whatever to a black hole, it's like the star would have to be like significantly bigger just to balance that out. And that is beyond the scope of this reading. I'm declaring it now. That's beyond the scope of all of this. But I'm looking at how the phoenix, the baby phoenix shell is like light, and the baby dragon shell is dark. And I'm thinking about like these cups behind them, and like this pillar up here, and the other pillar in the back. Or there's some like, oh, I didn't even notice. Like here's the 10th cup on the ground with the 9 cups still in the sky. There is some almost Bifrostian. It's like I feel like it's this energy. I feel like everything that I read about this is in these two. Especially like the journey of enlightenment. Okay. Yeah, it is Eve. Wait, what? In an era of cheat codes, most people walk up to the emergency exit and start hacking away with an axe, all willy nilly. Oof. This is making me low key a little nauseous, but that's fine. I can tolerate a little nausea. And then the Emperor at the bottom of the deck with the Wheel of Life behind it, because apparently that wanted to just slide out. And the Chancellor behind. Oh my God. We have Aries and Libra. In the middle of this Aries Libra, um, in the middle of the Aries Libra polarity is Jupiter in the Wheel of Life. Okay. All right. I'm done. How long have I been? Oh, 2 hours? It's been 2 hours. Oh my gosh. Well, that was this deck. I'm just gonna pull some of these. I'm not gonna read them. I'll just show them because I don't do that enough. Because I don't do that enough. So here is the Bread of Life. We saw the Bread of Life in the older one too. Older one. Hierophant. So at the bottom. And the Herald of the Earth. What the? It low key looks like this Herald of the Earth is like secretly opening up this portal because the thing around her hand is the same color as the one in the sky. She's like, "Oh, a portal open." It's not me. It's somebody. The Seeker. This is one of the fools in this deck. The Seeker is spirit in search of science, and it holds the space of like when you're somewhat on your journey, but you get stuck. It's like you sort of exhaust everything that you knew in the beginning. I put the Seeker somewhere. I mean, if there's 21 cards around like 10, 11, so the Wheel of Fortune Justice, um, maybe at the Hangman, because that would make sense. Or between the Hangman and Death, because you know the major arcana is the Fool's Journey. Then we have the Journeyman, which is the Eight of Orbs, which is interesting. What? So there's like the sun and moon motif in the back, like triple goddess. Is there like a triple god in here? Quadruple god, quintuple god? I don't even know if you can see these. I'm like full color. What? The chariot? We got the cardinal signs here. Upside down Ankh there. I like the water in this card. Oh, she's on the water. In the sky. I love that she did one in full color. Who is this? The Necromancer. Ooh. I love that the moon card now has an element of justice in it. Anubis took his scales back. The heart and the feather, the cane and the spanky thing, the flare or something. I don't know. What'd you say? Yeah, Spirit Keeper 1, I missed out on. Spirit Keeper 2. So I got um so right now the Spirit Keepers 3 is in print. And I think this edition she's gonna keep in circulation. She said there might be minor changes here and there. But like I pre-ordered the second one and I pre-ordered it for the price that it is right now. I think it was like it is like honestly, well, it was one of my more expensive decks at the time. But I got it when it was in print. So if you see it for like so the first edition and the second edition aren't in print now. So that's someone who probably bought it and they're selling it for way more than what it was when it came out. Um, but this edition just came out. You'll have to let me find the link real quick to her site. Yeah, this one she said she would keep insert. I'm pretty sure. How was it $300 used? Excuse me? I'm pretty sure you can still order it from her website directly, and it's not $300. It just came out. Hello? Okay. Well, there might be another page. I don't have time to look through it fully, but here's this one. That's for the Revelations edition. And she's like on top of a lot of stuff. So if it says that like you can still order, then you can still order. But they just started shipping them out. So I ordered mine, I think early October. It was early October or late September when I ordered mine, and I just got it. Um, but they said like late November to early December would be the later pre-orders, and I was a later pre-order. So, but yeah, the first two editions, she did a limited run, and that's it. This one, she said she's gonna do like a continuous run of it. So you should be able to find one cheaper than hundreds of dollars. Just get it from her. Um, but anyway, ooh, the Ivory Shield. Sanctum of the Immaculate. Okay. So the Ivory Shield in the Vitruvian edition is the one that gave me mean side eye. And if she's the Sanctum of the Immaculate, then that makes sense. Because she would be like, if Ing is the water meadow, she'd be like, you getting too close to somebody else's Ing. I'm like, oof, okay. Let me back up. Archangel of Mysteries. Ooh. She all cosmic and stuff with the corn. Angel who illuminates the shadow. This I think looks almost chalky. Is that the chalky? It's in that sweet. What you can get SKT2 sealed new for $600. Yeah, no. I think Corey looked at him one time. He said something about $1,000. I said, for what? I did not pay that much for these. Yeah, they're out of print. That's why they're being sold for so much. She only printed, I think she did a larger run of this set. I can't remember how many she printed for the second one. I think it was less than 1,000, but it might have been over. I don't know. But yeah, I did not pay hundreds of dollars. I got the premium edition, and I paid the extra whatever for insurance on the shipping. Um, so it came out to, I think it was $77 altogether. Actually, let me see. I should be able to find it. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Um, let's see. This will be easy. So yeah, for the first edition, I paid 72.33, or for the Vitruvian edition, it was 72.33, and then for this one, it was $77, and that was for the premium edition with insurance on the shipping and stuff like that. Yeah, that's nah. Mm-mm. I wouldn't even pay that much. I just missed it, and I actually found her channel because she has a channel on YouTube. I found her like right after the first edition sold out because she had a series on Chinese esotericism and exotericism that was about a lot of Buddhist and Hindu, and like the different sort of governances where like they were allowed to be more esoteric or whatever, and then like they had to like burn it or get rid of it, and then it became more exoteric. Like she had a whole 5 maybe 6 part series about it. I thought it was interesting. And then she was like, oh, by the way, I made it out. I was like, what? Oh, look, the Memory Keeper came out again with the Archangel of Mysteries, and last but not least, it's the, no, not that one, we already saw that one, the Wish Granted. Oh, okay. I actually want to read this one. I'll read it in the little white book though, instead of the whole entry. Eights, nines. The What's Granted. This is the blessing of well-being, abundance, and contentment. Every chalice of life you hold up toward heaven will be filled with success, gains, and fruition. Pictured here are the three most prominent forms of Shakti, collectively called Tridevi, the triple goddess. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth and prosperity. Durga, in the form of Parvati, is the goddess of valor and victory. Sarasvati is the goddess of knowledge, culture, music, and the arts. This key is a talisman for manifesting prosperity. So Lakshmi, Durga, in the form of Parvati, and Sarasvati. I think Parvati is the mother of Ganesha. I think. I don't know. So Ganesha and his mama showed up. Look at that. All right, so this has been sufficiently long. Oh, the deck of curious creatures. Oh, I love that deck. Yeah. Yeah, I have. I was like, when was, I don't know. Okay, so one last card, one final card. Ace of Swords and the Tower. See, there's the you can see the axe of Shiva in the bottom of the deck. Now this is blood, or it might be something else because it's red in this one. It was green in the other one, and then there's Shiva's trident up there too, with that same portal in the sky that the Herald of Earth. The Herald was like when she was doing that little portal magic or whatever. Oof, She'd have manifested a tower. And she's like, well, you said you wanted a new world. So from the ashes, it will rise. And it's like, well, ooh, who is this? The Empress. Okay. This is the most mysterious Empress card. The most Gloria Mundi, Arania's Gate. The most like mystic Empress I've ever seen. They shuffle pretty well too. I'm almost feeling like Miss Remy Healings the way I can shuffle these cards. Okay. Oh. The Lovers and the Shining Flame. Bottom of the deck is the Tower. Mystery of the Covenant, Embers of the Salamander. This is reminding me of Mushu from Mulan. I guess this would be Mulan, and this would be Mushu. Was there a horse in Mulan? Okay. Those are two more cards. I can't. I'm done. I'm done. All right, I hope you'll have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in a well, I guess I didn't even read it, but I'm just like, I can't. Oops. I gotta get a funnel card from this one though. Oops. From the movie Rango. I've never seen that movie. Was that the one with the gecko? Was he a gecko? I'm starting to get hungry. Hey Siri, what time is it? Or nine. Final card from the Vitruvian edition. Close but no cigar. Oof, well. Don't fear the Reaper. The Reaper and the Wheel of Life. With that page of look, here's that page of Pentacles. This is the same energy that caused that tower in the other deck, and now it's coming out with Death and the Wheel of Fortune. Scorpio and Jupiter again. Jupiter was in Leo before. Venus was in Scorpio with the Seven of Cups. Jupiter and Leo was the Six of Wands. Oh, they're here. Those are the four alchemical. It's like earth, sulfur, water, and mercury. Or salt, mercury, water, and sulfur. These, I'm not sure. Taro, Yatha, Vava. The phases of the moon, the zodiac. See, I don't think I've ever noticed that this Sphinx has a sword up here. But there's like a lot of strings and a lot of things. It's almost like it constrains the will's movement. And death, the reaper, is coming to make it a lot more free. The Sphinx destiny turning passage to initiation, which I guess would make sense. So, with the passage to initiation and the energy of destiny turning, it feels like there is an energy here where I think I've seen this energy before. When I was like, I hope we're ready. It's an energy. It feels like it's almost like the training wheels are coming off. Um, that's what it feels like. It feels like we've been doing Earth and we've been doing life on training wheels, and that's why I would be tempted to say that it's really important, or it. If we've worked on it, it'll be fortunate, or we'll find ourselves fortunate to have worked on really deep rooted and deep seated things in the past, because it feels like those things have a truth to them that remains true no matter how much we try to ignore it. Going back to resolving the shadow with that, what, seven of not pentacles, not swords, wands, with the seven of wands and the seven of cups energy. Because it feels like as long as that shadow was like unresolved, then we're going to be manifesting some of that as an experience. And it feels like the experience is going to be allowed to be manifested so that we can see it and work through it and heal from it. Because it gives us the opportunity to do that in a way where if we never had the experience, it like we wouldn't. And so it's like there's something that it's actually highlighting and illuminating to us that we get the chance to resolve and then move forward with, or from, well, with and from. And then that's what it feels like makes our lives even less complicated or karmically entangled with whatever from the past. And again, it reminds me of that Hierophant in its message of finding out what your individual responsibility is within the system that you've inherited. And I think a lot of times we try to move in a way where we where we try to absolve ourselves from all responsibility by claiming that it was someone else or something else before we got here. But when we grow up in it and as we take part in it, there are some things that we become partially responsible for, depending on our degree of participation. Or there's like more that we have to unlearn or whatever. And so it's almost like it is to find, again, like the degree of responsibility that we have. And then we, within ourselves and within our own world, we work through and absolve and resolve anything that we're individually responsible for. And the more individually responsible we are, the greater the collective shift or the overall shift, the global shift, and the quicker, the sooner it can come in a way. Because it's almost like when no one takes responsibility, then it continues to be. It's almost like, man, it's like when someone's like, "Oh, we need to clean up this mess, or we need to clean up that mess," and everyone's like, "Well, it's not my mess to clean up, so I'm not going to clean it up," and then it never gets cleaned up because it's no one's like no one made it, and so it's always there. And so it's like it's not for us to take responsibility for anything more than we have responsibility for, but it is for us to find out almost like which one of these threads or how these threads play out in our life or something like that. It feels like we are the reaper in this that removes the restraints on life. And then as we remove those individual restraints, then divine energy removes those greater blockages. All right, that's when the energy of Ganesha comes in and it removes obstacles that were set for a reason, whichever ones were set for a reason. The reason being us coming into whatever individual responsibility or power or empowerment or enlightenment or whatever. Because it's almost like as long as we stand to learn from it, or as long as there's something from it for us that we haven't yet gained, then it will continue to be. Or as long as there's something that remains unresolved. And the message of this, oh, got two cards or three cards, the Six of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Three of Pentacles. So we got the moon. See, it feels like Saturn is restricting the moon in Taurus until we do whatever we need to do or do our part with Mars and Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars actually works very well with Saturn. And look, they're in trine here. Saturn in Taurus is trining Mars and Capricorn. It's almost an energy here where it's like we're given what we need to complete the task at hand. And it's like as we're given the thing, we use the thing or we plant the thing. Like this feels like the vision in the maybe not in the necessarily extremely distant future, but this is what we're working towards and building towards while Mars is still back here at the three in Capricorn. And this feels like it feels like there is a pragmatic side of Taurus. And that's what this is. It feels like there's also a very generous side of Taurus. And that's the moon in Taurus. I don't know what that is. It's almost this like we are the ones that move the earth energy. But to move the earth, like you have to move Mars and Capricorn. And earth isn't necessarily the easiest element to move. So, welcome back. No problem, Melissa. Thank you for being here. Pizza. I think somebody just said pizza. This is the gateway the Sphinx is guarding, life without training wheels. I don't know if the Sphinx is necessarily guarding it. Because honestly, it kind of feels like life has been without training wheels for a second. Like it's been some time since life hasn't had training wheels, but we were so it's almost like we were so stuck in the repetition of everything before that we didn't even notice that they were gone. It's like whenever like you're trying to ride a bike and someone's like behind you and they're holding you steady and then they let you go and you're riding and like you're riding the bike and you think that they're still there holding you steady but like they let go. And then it's like, well, there's a part of it where it's like it's not until you realize that they're no longer there that you fall. because you're like, oh my gosh, they're not supporting me. Now I don't have any balance because they're not supporting me. But it's like, but you had balance that whole time. You didn't realize that they weren't there. But it's like, you fall, but then you get up and you realize, wait, like I was actually riding the bike by myself then that means that I don't have to act like I don't have balance. And so I don't know if it's some weird mental, psychological, whatever way, and like we give ourselves permission to maintain that balance without the person there holding the balance because we had that experience in which we did it. Long story short, it feels like the training wheels have been off for a little bit now, but it's like we were sort of still in auto mode, auto programmed, whatever, self driving, whatever. I don't know. Potentially. Take it as it resonates, if it resonates, when it resonates, if it resonates, right? Hello, Anon. Anon. So, anyway, I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that many fortunate things find you on your way and that you are receptive to those things. And if you find yourself in a spot of trouble, I hope that you have everything you need to navigate it in a way that leads to some kind of healing or resolution and empowerment, and in a way that moves you forward better able to deal with it. And if not, I hope you at least get a break if you need it. And I will catch you all later. Bye bye.